Okay, let's see if I can get this Facebook Live thing to work. So I decided to be brave, step out there, put myself on these lives to share with you guys some coaching tips that really help me in my life, help my clients, and just really want to get them out there. I think coaching, a big part of coaching is about being held accountable and having someone to, hi Sarah, I see you, big part of that is having a coach to hold you accountable. But coaching questions are a really, really powerful tool that you can just take away and use to yourself. You know, you don't have to necessarily have a coach with you. Obviously, I think you should, because I'm biased and I know that gets some really good results. But these are tools that I've kind of collected over the years, and I figure they can help. So without further ado, I thought I'd crack on. I'm going to do a whole week of this, so you'll be nice and bored with me by the end of the week, just to launch this, and then I'll be doing them just once every Monday. So one of the tools that I use a lot with clients, and actually one of my clients said to me, you have to talk about this one first. She actually said, you need to write a blog about it, but I don't know if there's enough material for a blog. And I told her I was doing these lives, and she said, yep, you've got to talk about this, because it's helped her so much, and it's really helped me as well. And it's a model that was developed back in the 70s, and it was called the 4 stages of competence, or the learning stages model. Basically, it's when we start working with a coach, working on our own self-development, we can get to this stage where we just become overwhelmed. We start to become aware of the behaviours that we're doing, the old habit patterns that we're in. And we can get a bit freaked out by it. I know I did. I was like, my God, I can see what I'm doing, and I can't necessarily stop myself, for example, reacting a certain way when there's confrontation, or following again and again the same pattern, falling into the same mistakes, and when you start to become aware, it can be really overwhelming. And I have coaching clients say to me, my God, the inner critic starts to kick in, and they're going, I'm rubbish, I don't know how to do this, I'm seeing all this stuff now that I didn't see before. It's almost like kind of 1 step forward and 2 back. But when you're actually at that awareness stage, you're in a really good spot, so keep going. And this is why, because these 4 stages that the learning of any behaviour is broken down into are, the first one is unconscious incompetence. So this is what a lot of people are going around doing, and it means we don't know what we don't know. We're going around, we're like, oh God, this is happening in my life is shit, it's everybody else's fault, oh, why does this always happen to me, blame everyone but ourselves, all this stuff's happening. We're just kind of blissfully unaware. We're like, yeah, this is my life, or we just as they call it, unconscious incompetence. So they're doing behaviour, they're not really seeing what they're doing. The second stage, which is this awareness piece, is conscious incompetence. So we're realising our behaviour, and we're like, wow, I'm doing all this stuff. How on earth do I stop doing this? And we're kind of beating ourselves up mentally, saying, I want to change what I'm doing, but how am I going to make the jump? How am I going to do this? And this is great, because when you're at this stage, you can feel really, it can be quite a long stage, this kind of awareness stage, but it represents a really big step forward, because you're already at stage 2. So if you're at this stage at the moment, and so many of you will be, particularly, you've got an interest in self-development, you've got an interest in coaching, you're going to be looking into these things, and you might be feeling overwhelmed by what you're seeing in the behaviour patterns you're seeing. So we're recognising it, but we're still repeating it, we're still acting the same way we've always done. But by focusing on it, you get to the next stage, and the third stage of this, they call in this model, conscious competence. So not only are you seeing what you're doing, but you can catch it before you do it. You can catch this behaviour, before you get angry with this person that you always get angry with, before you make the same bad relationship choices. You're like, ping, okay, I see this, I'm not going to do this. But you're having to do it consciously. You're having to be really consciously pull yourself back from the behaviour. So conscious competence, and you can spring backwards and forwards to stage 2 and stage 3. So you think you've got it, one time you nail it, you think, yes, I've got it, I'm going to stop myself doing this, stage 3, and then you can flip back. Maybe the next time you might miss it, like you look back and you'll go, I wish I'd acted in a different way. it's not a step back, it's just a stage that happens, and a lot of clients, and I know certainly myself, have a tendency to ping back and forth between those two. But by consciously repeating, being aware, not beating yourself up too much, but just next time saying, okay, I'll catch it next time, and I'll make the change. You can move yourself on, and proactively there are tools you can use. I'm going to talk about one of these tools in the next session. You can move yourself onto the fourth stage, and this is referred to as unconscious competence. So this is basically when you've made it a habit. You don't have to consciously kind of correct, I hesitate to use the word correct your behavior, because there's nothing necessarily wrong with what we're doing, but you're correcting it to a behavior that you want to do. So you instead of having to consciously do that, bam, you've made it a habit. And you might look back a few days later and go, wow, I handled that really differently. That was amazing. And when it becomes a habit, so yeah, sometimes we don't even notice it, but we may reflect back on it. It sounds like a small thing, but a good few months ago, I went to the cinema, and I got in my head, I love taking myself to the cinema. It's my own little self-date. And I strolled in there, and I knew what I wanted to see, and I went up to the counter, and I said, yeah, this is what I want to see. And they said, yeah, that's not on for 2 weeks. I'd read it wrong. And the old me would have perhaps been, in my youth, would have got really annoyed about that, and it would have ruined my whole day, and I'd been pissed off and miserable, and probably had crappy encounters with other people as a result. But actually, without even noticing it at the time, I was like, oh, cool. Oh, well, I'm in town centre. I'll go off. I'll do something else. And I was happy as anything. And it just happened like that. I didn't even think about it. I know it sounds like a really small thing, but I think that it's when you look back and you notice how your behaviour changes, and how things that would have driven you crazy years ago are just nothing anymore. And I think that's when you really notice it. So if you are at a stage at the moment where you're becoming aware of your behaviour, and you're having a tendency to beat yourself up, and maybe your inner critic is going crazy at you and saying, oh my God, I never realised this. No, I wish I'd never read that book, or wish I'd never delved into my behaviour, because look at this, I'm a crap person, I can't do anything about this. Be reassured, you are at the second stage already in this learning stages model. You are well on the way to changing your behaviour. So you're at stage 2, don't get put off. Awareness is a huge part. I often say it's more than 50% of the issue is becoming aware of your behaviour so that you can change it. So that's something I hope I've managed to explain fairly well. I'm kind of paraphrasing and taking liberties with the original developer of this model, which is a chap called Noel Birch, but like I say, back in the 70s, but I hope he wouldn't mind. And I hope it's useful, and I hope it's encouraging and reassuring for you guys. Tomorrow, like I say, I'm going to look at a tool which is the ABC model, which comes from mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is about pausing and giving yourself space to choose your reaction wisely. So it really links in with this learning stages model here, because it's a sort of exercise and a tool you can use to take yourself from that awareness through conscious competence to building new habits that serve you better. So if anyone's got any topics they'd like me to cover, email, comment below either now or by seeing the rerun. And yeah, I hope that's helpful, and I hope to bring some more Monday magic tomorrow, even though that will be Tuesday. Okay, take care for now.